So he went swimming one night on January 3rd, got into the pool, said, "I feel funny," after he was warming up, got out of the pool and collapsed and died. Just here 1 second, gone the next second, with no warning at all.
Yeah.
So that was really awful and stupid. So after that, my life just exploded.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Human Reboot Project. I am super excited today because I have a world-renowned podcaster and Anita Coyle. She is one of the co-hosts for What Do We Do Now? She is also, in her own words, has been raised by wolves and ate the gum off of the bleachers as a child. No worse for the wear. And somewhere along the way, she felt that qualified her to also be the mother of 4 children. She is also a publisher of her late husband's book, When I Grow Up, I Want to Be a Dinosaur. Thyroid cancer thriver. And she's also a doctor of physical therapy. And as I mentioned, she is a widow. Her husband, Jason, passed away on January 3rd, 2019. And I believe I can say comfortably that that was the catalyst, one of the catalysts for starting her podcast, What Do We Do Now? And she's also, in between all that stuff, has managed to continue to thrive as an ultra athlete and participated in the 2019 XTERRA World Championships, where she was the recipient of the 2019 XTERRA Warrior Award. So Anita, welcome so much. And thank you for joining us today.
I'm super excited to talk to you today. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And so we're just going to dive right in. We're going to start with the podcast, What Do We Do Now? Which is co-hosted by your friend and fellow widower, Mel. And obviously, there's certain requirements, I think, that a person has to have before they can start podcasting about being a widow. So if maybe you want to just tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about how you got there and maybe, why you and Mel decided to actually maybe start with also how you and Mel met, even though y'all grew up down the street from each other. You didn't really know each other. So I'll shut up now and let you unfold your origin story for us.
Sure. So, like you said, my husband died in January of 2019. It was super sudden. We had no indication that was going to happen. He was a swimmer. And he could have been on your podcast too. He did marathon swims in open water. So he would swim in races that were 6 or 7 or 10 miles long. And that was his passion. He just loved to swim. So he went swimming one night on January 3rd, got into the pool, said, "I feel funny," after he was warming up, got out of the pool and collapsed and died. Just here 1 second, gone the next second, with no warning at all.
Yeah.
So that was really awful and stupid. So after that, my life just exploded. And a few months later, I want to say, maybe weeks, I had somebody send me a blog article from another young widow. And I read the blog article and I felt so seen by what that person was saying. And I scrolled to the bottom of it and saw the person who had written it. And I realized that the person who had written it, her name is Mel Shore, and she grew up about 7 houses away from me up the street. So I knew who she was. Now, we were a couple years different in school, and so we didn't really associate too much with each other. But I sent her an email and just said, "Thank you. This feels so nice to have somebody who kind of understands some of this." And she emailed me back immediately, and we started texting back and forth. And quickly developed a friendship. And a few weeks later, she said, "Anita, I think we should start a podcast." And my response to that was, "That is the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my entire life." I've just been widowed. I have 4 kids. My kids were 12, 8, 5, and 2 when Jason died. I have to figure out how to feed my family and potty train and all of these things all by myself. How am I going to possibly throw a podcast in there? But she said, she's a musician by trade. And she said, I will do everything. You just have to show up and talk. And so I said, okay, let's give it a go. So we started in October of 2019, and we've been doing it ever since. So it's been quite a beautiful and unexpected journey.
Yeah, it's also an incredible podcast. When you reached out to me, I had posted something on a Facebook group that we're both members of, and you raised your hand because I was looking for folks to interview for this podcast, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," but like, I just didn't really know. Like, is this like a really morbid podcast? Is
Right.
this just a lot of like crying and sadness? And there is some crying, and there is definitely some sadness that goes along with your podcast. But the connection, the relationship that you and Mel has, if I hadn't known from talking with you that y'all hadn't only been friends now for a couple of years, it seems like y'all been friends your entire lives.
Yeah. Nope.
And so I don't know, maybe y'all regret that. It's like, why didn't we meet earlier? Well, we could have like all been friends together.
That's interesting. I've never thought about that. And I don't know that I would change it, because a lot of the connection that we have is that we kind of live different lives too. And then we've merged at this point in our life. Her husband died after having a tonsillectomy.
Right.
So just also like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, as I mentioned before we got started, I listened to the first 4 podcasts, as well as I've listened to some more of the recent ones. And so the first 4, I'll go into sort of your origin stories and how your husband's passed away. And I think the big similarity there is like the WTF piece of it, like,
Yes.
bam, I no longer have a husband. And y'all both talk about this. I think you sort of, you come from this medical background, which I think a lot of people think of as sort of analytical thinker, scientific. And then Mel is a accomplished jazz musician. It sounds like she tours and plays, if not all over the world, at least all over the United States.
Right.
So sort of, I think a lot of people would associate with that artistic mind. But y'all just gel and mesh so well. Was that connection immediate, or did it take y'all?
No, that's why we started just like texting with each other and calling each other. It's because we just both have kind of a dark sense of humor. And so we were joking about things that nobody else could get away with joking about, but it really connected us, and it was pretty instant, and it's just grown, and it's, it's different than it used to be, because neither of us are in that fresh, raw grief anymore, but we were when we connected.
Yeah. And I've again, when you talk about raw, your first couple of podcasts feel very, very raw. It feels like 2 friends just sort of sitting down, trying to share their story and figure out what the podcast is going to be like. And what y'all are 200, 300 something episodes in.
Yeah.
And you have, I've listened to multiple podcasts now. The one I listened to just recently was a gentleman, a recent widower from Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And I was driving back. I'd been camping for a couple of days, and I was driving back listening to it. And I was just never met this guy, but he seemed like he's probably maybe a little bit older than me. But it just got me thinking about, like, what if that happened to me? And
Yikes!
Yeah. Along with with Jason passing away, about that same time, I think you had the surgery before, but it really wasn't until like a day or 2 later that you discovered that your thyroid surgery was actually you had thyroid cancer. Was there additional treatments that you had to undergo, or was they felt the surgery had gotten it all?
So this is kind of the messy part of the story, is that I'd had some doctors tell me that my thyroid was big, and so I'd had a biopsy on it a few years ago, and it had come back as, not anything cancerous, but it just kept getting bigger. And so finally I decided that it was probably something that I needed to take care of. So set up to have that nodule removed. And I did that on January 2nd. So January 2nd, I had surgery for this benign growth. The next day, actually, I should have been swimming that night. I usually swam in the evenings, but since I'd had surgery and Jason had missed his morning swim the day before, he decided to go that night. And so that's when he ended up dying. And then a few days after his funeral, I got a phone call from the surgeon's office, and they said, we need you to come back. And I'd already had my follow-up appointment, which was a complete disaster because I had seen the surgeon just 2 days before. Everything was fine and hunky-dory, and I go back and I just look like probably, I don't even want to imagine.
Like a new widower, maybe?
Yes, yeah. And have to say, my world just exploded in the 3 days since you've seen me. My husband died. And so we'd had our little follow-up appointment. Nothing got said then, but he called back once the pathology had come back and said, you need to come back and see me. And I know that surgeons don't just call you back to chat with you. They're not just there to, shoot the breeze with. So I went back and he said, we had to send it to a specialist, but it's come back and it was actually cancerous. So I was just like, you have got to be kidding me. How am I going to figure this out? So I talked with that surgeon for a little bit, and then kind of through a series of, miraculous events, I got hooked up with this really renowned specialist in thyroid cancer. And I went and saw him, and he and I were on the same page. And he said, I just want you to be calm, and I want to watch this for a little while. And the sucky part of that, can I say sucky?
Yeah, absolutely.
The sucky part of that is that the person I needed to talk to about that decision was Jason, because it affected me. It affects my kids. How am I going to do this if I do need to have additional surgery? How am I going to take care of my kids? And so the surgeon said, if you're willing to, I want to just wait and see. So what we ended up doing, we had two options. One was the burn it all down option, to go through all of the different treatments. And then the other option was the wait and see approach. So that's the approach that he encouraged me to take. And I've taken that, and I go back every year and just do a bunch of scans. And so far it's been okay. So
That's great to hear. And do they have a reason or possible cause of your cancer? Is this something?
No.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
Yeah. Which I think some people find really frustrating. I had head and neck cancer, and it was caused by the HPV virus, which to me gave me something to sort of latch onto. And it's one of the reasons that I'm here doing this podcast, because along the way, I've met this just incredible amount of people who have overcome much, much greater odds than everything that I had to go through, and gone on to do incredible things. And it's one of the reasons that we're doing the Human Reboot Project, is to really focus on just ordinary folks and how they overcome extraordinary obstacles in their life, whether it's medical or a death of a spouse, and how they move on from that. So thank you for sharing that. I think, for me, there's a couple of lessons that I've already taken away. One being is like regular visits to your doctor.
Right.
Don't ignore strange lumps in your neck or any other part of your body. Then the other part, I guess, is the resiliency piece. And you talked about like beginning a podcast, 9 months, 10 months after Jason passed away. You also had, if I remember correctly, you had paused going to the World Championships while Jason was still alive. He's like, no, wait, we can go next year together. And you ended up going in 2019 after he passed away, correct?
Yeah.
And then you reached out to me because we're both part of a Leadville 100 mountain bike group. This year, you completed the Leadville 100 in under 12 hours and earned a belt buckle. And then somewhere along the way, again, you're finding time to raise kids and have a podcast and be, a medical professional. Where does that come from?
I don't know. I will tell you this. People ask me a lot, how are you doing this all? And I say, I'm not doing it all. There are lots of things I choose not to do. Like, you come to my house, it's a disaster. Like, there are things you just can't do everything. And there's things you have to pick and choose. And for me, I would much rather go on a bike ride than clean the living room. Like, the living room can be messy and we will all survive. And if I go for a bike ride, I'm a nicer person. And so everybody, the whole family agrees that should be what mom does, is go for a bike ride.
Every time I have to pay my HOA monthly fee, which covers the cutting of our grass in our neighborhood, I remind myself, you know what, Jay? Instead of cutting the grass, you're out riding your bicycle. So I hear you 100% on that. And speaking of bikes and having time to do everything, do you let your bike just fall completely apart before you go get it maintained, or do you do your own maintenance?
I think I should have to reveal that information.
Well, I think multi-sport athletes, triathletes, out of your XTERRA, which is dirt, is it run, bike, and swim in an XTERRA? Yeah. I've worked in bike shops in the outdoor industry for years and years, and my experience is that multi-sport athletes are the worst when it comes to bike maintenance.
So I'm kind of an enigma in that I do try to take good care of my bike, and I have tried to learn a lot of the maintenance to do on my own. But I got a new bike this year, and I specifically did not get the electronic shifting because I knew I would not plug my batteries in. And everybody says to me, yes, you will. And I said, listen, I won't. Like, I know myself, and I will be 400 miles to the nearest place and have no derailleur. So I can't have that. And people think I'm a child in some ways, but in other ways, I try to care for my bike.
Yeah. And are you using SRAM or Shimano?
SRAM.
So you could just carry an extra set of batteries.
Which is what everybody says, but you also have to plug that battery
in. Touche.
I went the rounds with everybody, and I am telling you all the time, my bike computer runs out of batteries. I'm always running out of batteries because I just can't remember to do things.
Yeah. It is a lot. Who thought that 20 years ago that we would have to remember to charge everything?
No.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Not me.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit. I'd like to still sort of talk a little bit more about the resiliency. So, I mean, let's go start with the XTERRA, because that happened the same year that Jason passed away. Was that a like one of those hallmark moments where you're like, Jason would want me to do this, or was it, I've just got to do this because I need something to distract me from the fact that I'm a young widower?
Yeah. So actually, I started doing the XTERRAs in 2015, and I just had a lot of fun. So they're an off-road triathlon, which I think is more fun than one on the road. And there was one nearby. So I started doing those, and I was getting faster at them. And in 2018, I qualified for the World Championships. And I found out the qualifying race was in September. World Championships are in October. That's kind of a tight turnaround.
No doubt.
And I said to Jason, I want to go do this. And he was very practical. And he was like, Anita, like, we can't just turn around and go to Hawaii. Like, we have 4 kids. We don't have any money. We have to plan for this. We have to save for this. And I'm kind of the YOLO type, and he's, is a little bit more practical. And so he said, let's do this. Let's make next year the year that we're going to do this. You can train for it. We'll save money for it. It will also be our 20th anniversary. So we'll make a big deal of it. And I was like, perfect. I just had to get that one pesky health thing out of the way first, which was the thyroid situation. So we made plans. That was going to be what was going to happen. Well, then he dies. And that went straight out the window. There was no way that I could do that anymore. But after I had kind of recovered from the surgery, I went running, and I was out in the cold air. It was January in Utah, and I just was breathing in that cold air, and I felt alive. And it was kind of a weird feeling at that point in time, because I felt like a zombie. Mm-hmm. And I just craved that. I craved feeling something. So I kept doing my rides and my runs, and I started to notice it was the only time that I started to feel any sort of positive emotion at all. And it became the most important thing that I was going to do. And after a few weeks of that, the idea started to creep back into my mind. Well, why not? Like, why not try for it? You've just learned that you're not guaranteed anything in life, so do it. So I talked to friends and family, and some of them were like, I don't think you should try and commit to that right now. Life's really up in the air. And some were like, yeah, of course, do it. And I am kind of stubborn. And so once I put my mind to it, it became the focus. And the only thing that kind of kept me wanting to be on this planet was working towards that goal. And that's when I figured out that I needed to have a big goal in my life to help me keep feeling alive and not like I was just checking boxes for some unknown reason. So I started choosing something and working towards a goal every year.
Great. So what are the goals you're working towards now?
I don't know. So actually I've done Leadville twice now. I did Leadville.
Twice. I apologize.
Yeah.
I only got
It's
it in
okay.
there once. Yeah.
That's okay. I did it last year, and that was perhaps the biggest goal that I've had so far. And I didn't even know how big it was going to be until I started riding my bike there. And I was like, what am I doing? So that was my goal last year and the year before that. And when I finished this year, I guess it is
2025, right?
2025, when I finished, I got done and I said, if I ever say I want to do that again, somebody slap me. There's gotta be a new goal that's not this. So I'm on the lookout.
Yeah. So I'm always plugging stupid hard things. And I believe it is already sold out for the year because they only have 125 spots. But you can often get on the wait list and get a call like a week before.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah. Vapor Trail 125.
Okay, where's that?
Happens just right down the street from Leadville and starts in September. You said the weekend after Labor Day, right? September. Starts in downtown Salida at 10 o'clock at night. And you ride out. You ride out as a group on the road to get to the Forest Service roads, which take you up to the Colorado Trail. You end up going all over the place through the collegiate peaks there. They say take your Leadville time and double it.
That sounds terrible. Let's do it.
It's a blast. I've done it. Well, I've signed up twice. I didn't do it this year because I crashed 2 days before and broke some ribs.
Oh no.
It happens, right? And the year before I got pulled, I didn't make the last cutoff. So of course I have to keep going back until I finish, and then I'm going to be done with it because it is so freaking hard, but it is so much fun, and it is just an unworldly experience riding in the Rocky Mountains at 2 a.m. You're kind of alone. You're kind of not alone. Every once in a while you can see a light up ahead or behind you, and occasionally you actually catch somebody or somebody catches you. You're always guaranteed an incredible sunset or sunrise. Sometimes you get some snow. So it's cool. I'd say at least look at it and start thinking about it.
I'm gonna put it on the list. I do a lot of these races with my little brother. He's a big mountain biker, and so he doesn't run, so he doesn't do any of the triathlons or swim. Actually, he hates swimming, but I'll talk to him about that one too.
All right. Well, so going back when you decided to do the XTERRA, sorry, I keep jumping back to this, but because I just think it's, I get that, like, I need a big goal thing. 100%. I think a lot of people who participate in ultra type sports, that's sort of like what we can structure our lives around. It's like, this is way, way far away, but I have to have all these structured moments and days throughout until I get to that point. And therefore it makes it a little bit easier to sort of structure the rest of my life. And you mentioned, you said some friends were like, what, you're going to do that? But like, I'm just curious, like your kids, like, were they like, yeah, go for it, Mom? Or were they like,
they were young enough that they were like, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Did they get to go
crazy.
Did they get to go to Hawaii with you?
I took my 2 oldest to Hawaii. The 2 youngest didn't get to come. They're still mad about it, but they were 2 and 5. And I was just like, I can't really manage them and, do all the stuff that goes on with the race. So I still owe them a trip to Hawaii, I guess.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Or to Salida, Colorado, and they can crew for the Vapor 125.
It's pretty much the same place.
Yeah. Exactly the same place. Rocky Mountains, Hawaii. Yep.
Yes.
Drive to one, fly to the other. So, but what did you get any? I mean, outside of your kids, did you get any pushback from family members? Like
Not a lot. I think a lot of people, and nobody said this to me because they were probably scared of me because I was like a disheveled young widow. But I think a lot of people probably thought, why is that her priority? In all of these things, in all of the things that she could be choosing, why would that be the priority? And I just didn't care. I mean, being widowed sometimes does help you to just stop caring about what other people think, at least for a certain period of time. I was like, I don't care if nobody understands why I need to do this. Just going to do it. And I'm so thankful that I did, because what happened next year, 2020, pandemic, no XTERRA, like it just wouldn't have happened if it didn't happen that year. So it turned out to be the right call, I think.
Yeah. Congratulations again. And you did receive and there's a whole video. I'll try to find it and put a link in the show notes. But you did receive the 2019 XTERRA Warrior Award. Were you aware that you were going to get that, or
no? That was a complete surprise. And to be clear, that is not for performance. That's just like something terrible happened to you and you still came to this race, and then they give you an award. So sometimes you get a benefit for.
I would like to think it's more of about. I mean, obviously something terrible did happen to you, right? But resiliency and what we've been talking about. You still managed to show up and be part of the race. So congratulations again.
True.
Yeah. Well, I haven't had a chance to peruse the book, but I gather it is a children's book, since it's called, if I remember, When I Grow Up, I Want to Be a Dinosaur. As someone who has several dinosaurs tattooed on his body, I love the book without having even seen it. But tell us a little bit more about that.
So that came about. I was going through some things and I opened up a notebook, and in the notebook were some loose papers, and they were the storyline to a children's book. And I remember Jason saying something about that, saying, I think I want to make a children's book, because when he was a little kid, he wanted to grow up to be a dinosaur. When people said, what do you want to grow up to be? He would say a dinosaur, and he didn't understand that was like not an option. So he had the words to the book written down. And so I contacted, and Jason could draw, and so he was going to like illustrate it, but he didn't get around to doing that. I contacted somebody, an illustrator, and asked them if they would illustrate the book. And then I made the book that he had planned to make one day, got somebody else to draw the pictures for it, and published it and gave it to all the friends and family, and it's pretty cute.
And is it available? Like, can people get it on Amazon? Can they get it at your
I think you can get it on Amazon. It's one of those like self-published, situations. I'm pretty sure you can get it on Amazon.
It's probably a collector's item, and if it's not, it's destined to be one. So if you find one, folks, snatch it up super quick, right?
I'm not a very good salesman. I'm like, I don't know. I think you can buy it.
And Jason he was going to be a lawyer, right? And then and he came to his senses. Yes. And he came up with even a better career.
A worse idea.
Probably more fulfilling. But I was a former school teacher many, many years ago, and I can promise the listening audience that school teachers don't make a lot of money.
Yeah, they don't.
Even if you stick with it for 20 years, you don't make a lot of money. So, and he was 8th grade. Is that right?
Yeah. When we got married, he said he was going to be an attorney, and then he had a bait and switch, and he said, I want to be a teacher. And I was like, no, but he ended up teaching 8th grade English and just loved it. And it was the perfect job for him. And it actually might have made our home and family life wonderful. So do not regret.
Yeah. And did, they always think, people I think often think that teachers always get their summers off. Was that the case for him, or is he always out doing
it? Was.
Okay.
That's what made it so great. And my job situation was nice because I worked as a PRN physical therapist at the hospital. And so I could pick up extra shifts as we needed to, but we had a lot of freedom to go camping or, just go on adventures as much as we wanted to. And it worked out really, really great for us.
Cool. And I just think it's awesome that he's, whether it's for the public or just for the family, he's left this really cool legacy of a book for anybody who aspires to be a dinosaur.
Yes.
When they grow up. Yeah. I want to, because I'm going to definitely put a link to this show once we get it out on the air. Do people say that on podcasts? They don't say on the air, do they?
Sure.
They say out there in the...
When they release it?
Yeah. When it's on the release date. I'm definitely going to share this with the Leadville 100 mountain bike participant group. So they're going to want to hear some Leadville stories. You've done two Leadvilles, both under 12 hours?
Yes.
Pretty impressive. So talk to me about that.
Oh my gosh. So I am not fast, but I'm mean. That's what I tell people. Like, I will just keep going until somebody makes me stop. And I knew I could do it because like being widowed is way harder than a mountain bike ride. Like, I know that I'm tough enough to do it. I just didn't know if I could make the cutoffs. And a lot of people will go to Leadville beforehand and do some scouting. Well, that was not an option. Like, when I go to a race like that, I have to kind of sell my soul to get my kids taken care of. So it's usually so for Leadville, we left on Friday, raced on Saturday, came home on Sunday. Like, there's no wiggle room. So I didn't know what the altitude was going to do. It just was a big question mark. And I just thought, well, I'm just going to go try, and we'll see what happens. And I started in the very, very, very back corral. And the first year I just went and I just went and I went and I kept going and I kept going. And it was so hard. And I loved it the first year. I tried to talk to everybody that I was near. I tried to find out where they were from. The thing that just floored me was thinking about how much effort and training I had done to be there, and knowing that every single person, and there's a lot of people out there, had done the same, that their entire lives have revolved around this event from months and months ahead, and just thinking that everybody has their own story and their own journey to get there, and just wanting to know a little bit about that. So I tried to, talk to a lot of people, and I couldn't figure out how the people from Florida were alive, because I felt like I was almost not alive. And, I'm at least like half the altitude. And I didn't know if I was going to make it. I lost my pace notes coming down Columbine. And so I didn't have any idea of what I was aiming for. So I just tried my best, and I didn't know I was going to make it until I was coming back up the boulevard to the finish line. And I had 22 minutes to spare. That's how close I was to the cutoff. But I was I'm thrilled at that. That's amazing, because it was tough.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. And I guess maybe a point of clarification for people who might be listening to this that don't know about Leadville. So Leadville is Leadville, Colorado. It's at a little bit over 10,000 feet. It's the highest incorporated city in the United States. The race starts in downtown Leadville and drops very briefly below 10,000 feet to around 9 something as you go through the Twin Lakes area. Climbs up to, I should know this because I've been up it so many times, to about 12,300 feet, I think, at the top of the turnaround. And so it's an out and back race. And it's, for the most part, it's on wide dirt or even some pavement, but it's the elevation and the desire for people who are trying to go at least under 12 hours to earn the belt buckle, and for the really fast folks going under 9 hours to earn the really big belt buckle. And so there's the mountain bike version, and there's also the following week or maybe 2 weeks later, the running version, which to me is just insane.
I don't know about that.
Just showing up and finishing it is for anybody is, I think, is a monumental achievement, but to go under 12 hours is incredible. And so again, congratulations. And
thank you.
We would love to have you back to Colorado to do it again. I would say that, the way you did it, like showing up the day before and then doing it. For a lot of people, that actually ends up being the best strategy, because showing up 3 days, even a week ahead of time, 2 weeks ahead of time, for most people is not enough time to acclimate to the altitude. So you might be onto something there. I live in Denver at 5,800 feet. So when I go up to Leadville, I sleep awful. I don't go near as fast, and sometimes I'm thinking, like, maybe I should just stay home and just get up early the morning of the race and drive up there.
I don't think you're wrong about that.
Yeah.
My heart rate when we started the first climb went to 185, and it stayed there for 12 hours.
Holy
and I was
cow.
like, this can't be good for me. That's why I'm like, somebody slapped me. Like, just that altitude just really, I don't know, messes with you.
The power of youth right there, 185. I hadn't seen that in forever. Let's circle back to the podcast again. We talked a little bit about this before we officially started recording here. You're 200 something episodes in, and I would just tell folks, it's like, you don't have to be a widow to listen to this podcast and appreciate this podcast. I was kind of amazed at how taken in I've been by yours and Mel's story, and just listening to some of your guests. But one of the things that I was saying to you is that what I haven't heard a lot of, and I haven't listened to all of the shows yet, is that I don't hear a lot of talk about religion or spirituality. I know you live in Utah, where there is a lot of Latter-day Saints.
Mm-hmm.
So I do find that a little interesting, and maybe if you could just sort of touch on that and talk a little bit about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so Mel and I, like we said before, grew up 7 houses away from each other, grew up in the predominant religion. When we were discussing the podcast, we made a pretty stark decision that we were going to try and not superimpose any of our beliefs or even talk about them, because we kind of wanted it to be a blank slate for the guests who were coming on, and really wanted people to be able to have their experience, whatever it was. And that's been really cool, just to understand the spectrum of people's beliefs. There's everywhere from people who have no belief in an afterlife or have no spirituality, to people who that's what they cling to as their only, sense of hope and meaning. And it's been interesting for us too, because my religion and spirituality has really, it's morphed a lot, I would say, in my widowhood experience. And it's not simple. It's kind of messy, and it's kind of weird, and it's just different than it used to be as well. And we'll have conversations with people about that on a personal level, but we do try and kind of keep that outside of the realm of the podcast. I do have a belief. I do have a spiritual belief. I do believe, in a heavenly being and in an afterlife and in those types of things. But it definitely has changed as I've kind of grown into widowhood.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. Have you found, have you had guests that have maybe come, like, you felt like with an agenda, and you've had to sort of reel them in, or say, hey,
No.
maybe, okay, cool.
No, most people, I mean, and we have a like a support group, a Facebook support group that we've started, and we've got a lot of members in there. And one of our rules is that we respect everybody's beliefs, and we try not to, foist our beliefs on other people, but support them wherever they are and whatever their beliefs are. And people are actually really good about that. We have every once in a while had to, put a stop to people preaching or saying, this is how you should do it. Because there is no how you should do it. There is how you're doing it, and you're doing it the right way, and whatever feels right to you is how you should be doing it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think respect there is the key word, right? We could probably all use a little bit more respect, show a little bit more respect.
Absolutely.
Just it's been interesting. I thought that, like, after we moved through the pandemic and COVID, that we would sort of maybe slide back into being a little bit more respectful, and it just kind of feels the opposite. So I'm ready for the seesaw to
saw the other sea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that the approach that you and Mel, it seems to be working for you. So
Yeah. And
nice job.
COVID was a real weird time. COVID happened. I mean, it was within a year that Jason died that all of a sudden we're in the COVID thing. And we have a lot of COVID widows in our group. And I hate it so much that COVID has taken on this kind of political thing, because they are experiencing that widow experience, that horrible experience, superimposed with all of this anger.
Right.
And I'm just like, how would it be to not only have lost your person, but have to defend their death somehow as being actually from COVID, or, you know, all of these weird things that came along with COVID, and we've come out of it and people are like mad at each other. And I'm just like, it's a little crazy.
Yeah, it's that's a great point, right? I mean, I think for the most part, people don't troll war widows, right? Or emergency responder widows, but because someone died from an illness, that it's that, for, as to your point, it's sort of taken on this very political slant.
Weird thing, weird place to be.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to hear that there's still widows that are having to deal with, or widowers, widows. Or is it men and women? Are they both widows, or one a widow and widowers?
So that is a topic of much discussion. Classically, a widow is a woman, a widower is a man, but there is a push to just degender that and call everybody widows. I mean, there's so many more categories than there used to be, and it's just like you've lost your romantic or your life partner. That's the important thing about the term. So yeah. Maybe I could come up with a T-shirt that settles that debate. Well, we have people all the time reach out to us and say, I'm not a real widow. This is my experience. And we just are trying to help everybody feel encapsulated with that term, and also to redefine that term a little bit. It has classically been a term of disempowerment. You know, widows are easy marks. Widows are helpless, and we want it to turn into something that is like, no, widows are resilient and powerful, and they're not easy targets. And actually, they're some of the strongest people that you'll ever meet. And if you are wondering if you're a real widow, yes, you are.
Yeah. Cool. What about well, I know that your website, I assume your Facebook page. I haven't been to the Facebook page, and y'all are always talking about resources on your podcast, whether those are mental health resources, but beyond those resources, what would you like for people to know who are not widows but are trying to support someone who is a recent widow, or just a widow, and maybe they realize that, like, hey, it's been 6 months and I haven't reached out to my friend who's now a widow. What advice do you have for those folks?
So this is really interesting. We get we get contacted a lot, and it will say something to the effect of, my so-and-so's so-and-so just died last week. What do we do? And that's when everybody wants to flock to that person and help them. And it's very human nature to do that. And of course, that's not a bad instinct. But the real question is, where are you going to be in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years for that person? Because we get a lot of help in the very beginning, but after a while, people just move on with their lives. And I don't know where the idea that after a year, things are all better. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So if you want to know what to do, then I want you to think ahead, and I want you to think what you're going to do for that person in 2 years. And are you going to still be checking in on them in 5 years? Are you still going to be there for them after that wave of help has come and then gone? I tell people to put the dates in their phone to remind them of anniversaries and birthdays and big dates like that, because it's impossible to remember all of those things. But just a little reminder to reach out to that person. Hey, can I bring you dinner tonight? I know it's whatever, but not 2 months from now, in a long time from now.
Right. So what I'm hearing there is there's no cutoff date in terms of being able to provide support, or at least reaching out to see if someone needs support, whether that's 3 months, 6 months, or 5 years down the road saying, hey, I know this was the day that so-and-so passed, just thinking about you.
Yes, absolutely. And just being really in it for the long run, because so many people say, I'm going to be there for you. And then that goes away after a little while, and you're still living that life where, solo parent, I still need a lot of help. When people are like, hey, can I give you your kid a ride somewhere? I'm like, thank you so much. You don't understand how helpful that is. And it's a small thing, but if you have like an inkling, hey, this might be helpful to that person, do it. Yeah. Don't second guess and think, well, will they be offended? No, probably they won't.
Right. Yeah. All right. So what about now, for those as fortunate enough to still have our spouse alive and well, what would you like them to know? Because I know that one of the things, I don't know if it was you or Mel mentioned in one of your podcasts about no life insurance. So what are some of those things that as couples that we need to think about before bad stuff happens?
Well, number one, odds are that one of you is going to be widowed at some point in time. Very rarely do both of you die at the same time. So when you get married, you have signed the invisible contract that one of you is going to be widowed at some point in time. So, I mean, that's the first thing. And the second thing is that we as a society do not talk about death. And we need to. Like, you need to have discussions with your wife or your partner about what you want for end of life care. Everybody should have an advance directive. Everybody. I don't care if you're 15 years old or you're 85 years old, have an advance directive. Get life insurance. I mean, it's easier said than done sometimes, but that can make a huge difference in your experience. But just talk about what you want for each other, and the possibility of one of you dying. Now, I'm curious. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay. You
had cancer. So you had to stare death in the face a little bit. Did that prompt you to talk to your wife or partner about dying, the possibility of you dying?
Oh, my wife is just going to love this part when she gets to hear it, because she's been she's been asking nicely for quite some time, like, hey, we need to get wills together. And I'm always like, oh, don't worry. Everything is, and my finances list you as the beneficiary. I'm a little bit older than her. So my savings, finance, retirement stuff's a little bit more established than hers. And I'm like, it's going to be fine. And I guess I'm just going to put it out there now. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to make it happen this month, November. It's what is it, like Movember, male health month? So it's male health like and financial, whatever. Responsibility month. I've just created a new month holiday. So, yes, I will get it. No, I haven't, and yes, I will get it taken care of.
You know what's so fascinating and surprising? There is this assumption that if your spouse dies quickly, then maybe you haven't talked about death. But when your spouse dies of a long-term illness or disease or cancer or whatever, people assume that because you had time before they died, that you talk about those things. Very, very often, people still haven't talked about it because there is this feeling that talking about death means that you're giving up on life. And that's just not true. It just being prepared is not the same thing as giving up. And it's better to talk about it before you're in that situation, because it takes on a lot of really hard feelings when you're in that situation. Like, your spouse might think, well, why are you bringing this up? Do you think I'm going to die? Are you giving up on me? And it's like, no, but I do want to be prepared, and I need to know your passwords. Like, please know your passwords. Have a place where they can get to your passwords. And your phone, they need to know the password to your phone. Don't rely on Face ID or fingerprint. There are so many horrible stories about people not being able to get into their spouse's phone, where all the passwords are and all their photos are and their journal entries. And I hate to break it to you, Apple is not opening up your spouse's iPhone unless they have a court order. And it's devastating for a lot of people. So,
Point well taken. My dad passed away when he was fairly young, 61. And though he had a lot of things in order, there was a lot of things that weren't taken care of, that my mom had to work through. And I would like to think that myself, my brother, and our sister were as helpful as possible, but a lot of that was sort of left to her to figure out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I hear you loud and clear, and yes, now I feel guilty and a call to action as well. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'll check in with you and make sure that you did it. Actually, I'll forget, but
no, you check in with me on that, and I'll check in with you on how that training for the Vapor Trail 125 is going.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Hey, I know we've been it's almost an hour, but I do have a couple more questions. We've talked about your podcast a lot, and I've got. Before we sign off, I'd have a pop quiz for you. It's just some random questions.
Okay.
But I do. Maybe this is the start of the pop quiz right here. Is like, what's the plan with the podcast? Are y'all just going to keep on going with it? Is that the plan? And
yeah, I mean, we just keep
television show made for y'all talked about Hallmark and your Lifetime movies. So I think there's a possibility for both for y'all.
We've talked about lots of things. And both of us have these really rich, full lives, and it's hard to fit more things in there. So for right now, we're just doing the podcast. We've talked about doing retreats, and Mel and I have spoken at a lot of different conferences, and we like to do that when we feel like we've got time. And then there's seasons and times where you can't do that as much. But yeah, for now, we're gonna keep doing that. I've sometimes wondered if we're the right people for the job anymore, because we are so far out from the death of our spouses that we've kind of lost some of that, how to access that really raw time. But the nice thing about our podcast is it's chronological, so you can hear our change in how we've been able to deal with things. And so I don't know. It's kind of an esoteric question, I guess.
Yeah, and I would like to think in your first podcast, several times y'all reference all 5 of your listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Do you know how many? Like looking at analytics, how many listeners you have now?
Well, listeners, no, but like you can pull up your downloads and see how many downloads you've had, and we haven't done that in a long time. What's funny about that? Our podcast is we don't really want listeners either, and it's a very niche audience, and so it's not like we want to grow our audience, because then it means there are more widows in the world. So we're never going to be like a true crime podcast that gets millions and billions of listens, and we don't really want it to be. We want it to be really helpful for the people who need us, and we want to be found by the people who need us, and
right.
Kind of a strange push-pull.
Though y'all did do sort of a true crime podcast.
Yeah, we did.
I forget the woman's name. It was actually the first one I listened to, and I believe as a woman in Utah who has, I don't think she's been found guilty yet, but has been accused of possibly killing her spouse, and then she's done some. She's published a book.
A lot of weird things. Yeah, she did publish, which was funny because I was like, well, I did the same thing, like published a grief book or whatever, and I was like, I promise I did not kill my husband.
Maybe I'll have a spinoff and you call it the Black Widow We Do Now.
Mel would love that. Mel loves true crime.
Okay, all right. So speaking of Mel, she's not going to like my first question for the pop quiz, because it involves AI and music.
Okay. Oh boy.
So I have a theme song, or I have theme song words, and I realize since I'm not a musician, I can't record my own music, and I guess I could reach out to friends who are musicians, but I realized the other day that I could take these words, drop them into an AI, and it'll, I'll say, hey, create me a disco version of this. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start letting my podcast guest choose their musical genre, and then I will go back and create the theme song based off of your musical genre
that's funny.
preference.
So I have to choose a genre?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm a classic rock kind of a person. So that's that's my genre I choose. Although I do like disco too. I'm kind of like an old soul musically wise.
Okay, so why don't we do this? I will try prompting it with classic rock and disco.
Okay.
And it might be the worst mashup of all time. Though I don't know, there's a lot of classic rock bands that, you know, did the disco song. I'm thinking Queen, Kiss, you know, sort of, they don't, so who knows? Who knows? Okay.
Don't know.
Classic rock disco theme song coming your way.
Okay, perfect.
And so more pop quiz. When you're out running, biking, are you a music or a podcast listener?
If I am just going for a regular run or ride podcast, if I need to go fast, then music.
Okay.
I go slower when I listen to podcasts. Like, I mean, just data wise, it's very easy to see.
Yeah. What about what sort of music like if you're doing like, you know, full on intervals or something, you know, 1, 2, 3 minute long threshold intervals, what's the music of choice, or what's the song of choice?
Oh, song? I don't know about just one song. I have a whole playlist that I have like running music that's very up tempo and helps me to go faster as opposed to going slower. Although one time I was on a bike ride and somehow my Spotify got put onto like easy listening. It was like the Carpenters. And actually that was the best. I had the most fun. It was like so serene. I was just like out there doing my thing and I didn't change it. So
okay. All right.
There's room for all.
Okay. So you're out on that long training ride or run and you, let's say you're halfway in and you realize that you didn't bring enough food for you.
Happens all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You find a sweaty $10 bill stuffed down in your sock or in your bra. You go to the convenience store with your sweaty $10 bill. What food do you buy to get you home?
Okay. If I was just to buy something that not necessarily would need to get me home, it would be a gas station nacho. I love a gas station nacho every so often, but I probably wouldn't eat that right before I needed it to get me home. I would probably go with like Twizzlers and peach rings if I just needed carbs to get home.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I realized this Halloween, we don't get a lot of trick-or-treaters, but I always like stock up just in case. And I realized this year, I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy lots of stuff that I can just use as fuel on the bike if anyone comes and picks it up. So I was cutting open little bags of gummy bears and putting them in the Ziploc bag for my next
you needed
ride.
More than just 4.
Well, I don't want to. It's like that's not even a serving. So it's 3 bags of gummy bears of the little individual servings from Halloween candy is equivalent, I think, of about 25 carbs. So if anybody needs that information. So,
yeah. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. Well, Anita, it has been incredible having you as a guest. And as I told you before we started recording, that I became a fanboy really quick of listening to your podcast. You and Mel both are just incredible people. I think it's amazing that you're so willing to just open your hearts and provide a resource for folks out there who are recent widows or maybe just widows that never really felt that they got the support or got heard like they needed to. So thank you for doing that. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye and thank you.
Okay. Good luck with the podcast. Can't wait to hear more of it.
Coming soon. I really appreciate it.